Just busy.
Hi, Larry Crabtree.
Good to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, there's this Rupa. So I think it's everybody. 'Cause Ray's had mouth surgery.
Yeah, but Rupa's not here. She did. Oh, is she behind us?
Hello.
Well, you finally showed up.
I was like, guys, I'm gonna be.
You go from using being
Where's the
pregnant to being I got a new baby now.
Boy,
Where's the baby?
he's with mom and dad. They ran late.
Now that I'm not chairman, I can't play with the baby. You don't want the baby.
He's with mom and dad. Thank God this time last time he was like melting down. Here, right here.
They got their mind made up. They're gonna do it.
All right, we're going to call the meeting to order for the planning commission meeting for November the 18th, 2019. Right now, there's a determination of quorum. 4 creates quorum. There's more than 4, so there's a quorum. Now we'll have election for officers. Can I get a nomination for chairman?
Can I nominate Chad Grimes?
Okay. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Well, hold on. Is there any other nominations? All right. All right, go ahead with the vote. In favor, say aye.
Aye.
No? Chad, meeting's yours.
All right. That's good. So do you finish this out, or do I take over?
No, sir, it's all yours.
Throw you in.
All right. So now we have an election for the vice chairman. Do I have any nominations?
Mr. Comer? No.
He's not eligible.
He's not eligible.
No, he's in the.
The only eligibles would
Oh, that's right, UGB.
be Shelley, Mr. Crabtree, or Paul.
Okay. Mr. Crabtree is giving me a look. Okay.
We need a nomination.
All right, I nominate Paul Schwer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
So you're not signed up for
All those opposed? Paul, you're now the vice chair.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so I guess we will start this by doing the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. If we all stand. Mr. Sperling, do you mind saying an open prayer for us? You just go step up to the mic and say an open prayer for us.
Father, this is your day, your time, your community. Father, we thank you for blessing us and putting us right here at this time. We ask your blessing upon this assembly, everything that's said and done, and look forward to your blessings in the future. Father, we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
We'll go ahead and start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, y'all have been provided a copy of the minutes. If you would look over those. And once everybody is sufficient with those, I will accept the motion to approve the minutes.
We'll need 2 different motions, one for the minutes on August and then the minutes from October.
That's right, too.
Yeah, 2 of them. So this would be for the first one, would be for August 19th.
Motion for August 19th, and it's for approval.
For approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of the approval of the minutes of August 19th, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Those pass. And let's approve the minutes for August 19th, oh, excuse me, not August 19th, October 21st.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, I have a motion for approval and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Those pass. Any reports from officers or staff?
No, Mr. Chairman, no reports this evening.
All right, so now we are at the old business. It looks like the first item up for the old business is the community mobility plan. It's the final draft, and this would be us sending a recommendation of approval to the Board of...
Actually, they've already approved the resolution at their last meeting.
Okay.
This is just going to be to approve the revisions on 32 and 33 that was added from the comments of the Planning Commission during the draft review.
Okay, so this is just to approve the resolution for it to move forward, and it's, I guess we're done. So that's all it says?
Well, all you got to do is just approve the revision to the plan.
Okay, revision to the plan. Y'all work with me, guys, I just got thrown here. So, all right, the revision of the plan. So,
Move to approve the plan with the revisions.
does this require a public hearing?
No.
This does
For the
not?
revisions.
Okay,
No, we had a
not
public
the-
hearing the last one.
Okay.
Are we going to be able to discuss after we?
Yeah, we make approval.
Sure.
All right. So I have a motion for...
I'll second.
All right, so we're opening it up for discussion.
So the one question I had is in light of last week's accident, is there any feasibility of moving up the Avoca Road intersection to be more of a priority? It's 2027 is what it looks like it's slated in the community mobility plan for sidewalk and Avoca, Marbury through Kings Lane.
That would be a good question for the city administrator. Being it's a capital project,
Yeah.
as far as moving it up, it would be a discussion that she would have to have
Okay.
with the board of, board of mayor and aldermen.
I didn't know if it was something that could be included in this plan or if like a targeted timeline could be a little bit.
This plan is just mainly confined to state routes, as you know, the way it was set up. And so we're not using, it's not actually applying to city roads that do not intersect with state roads.
Even though it does list them on like, and shows the, like on page 9, for example, it shows like that they're expecting to put the bike lane in, right? That's the goal. I don't know if that needs to be, or could be. Another place I'm looking at is on page 11.
That one was based, that was in the, on their plan, but that was based on the city.
Okay.
Our transportation
Our
plan.
transportation plan in general, okay. So this won't affect that. Okay.
Well, not on those routes, on the state routes it will. We're going to go back and take this and come back here with an amendment to the comprehensive plan reflecting
Great,
this.
okay.
All right.
Okay, that clears it up for me.
Any other discussion about the mobility plan?
Going back to those bike lanes
Mhm.
on Riley Creek Road, we're going to include Riley Creek, Linden Bell Road into the study. That's going to improve. That's going to increase traffic on that road in a residential area to get you to the freeway. Is that in direct conflict with the bike lanes?
That would be done based on the design. That would be something that we would look at when the design phase of it to try to mitigate that. I believe there would be some type of standards that we could use that's would protect. If we did like a path where it would be like multimodal lights or walkers or somebody pedestrians could go at the same path, but there would probably be some separation.
Okay. I mean, I understand why this amendment's in here, but it's outside the scope, I think.
Yeah, it was looking at it from a pure vehicle
Vehicular.
standpoint.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All right, I'll call, sir?
I call the question.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of accepting the community mobility plan, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That passes. All right, next on the agenda is the townhomes at 1008 West Lincoln Street. This is a planned unit development with 13 townhomes and units. So I see that this is not a public hearing again since we had one last time. Is that correct?
That's correct. The board still, or the commission still has the right to hold a public hearing. We did advertise this item in the newspaper before this meeting, so it would, it could be up to your discretion to hold one.
All right, I feel like with this going ahead, we will let the open it for public hearing. Each person, please come to the mic, state your name and your address, and you're given 2 minutes. If you don't want to use your 2 minutes, you can delegate it to someone else. Did I hit everything I need? I think so. Pretty much. All right. So open it up. Anybody would like to speak on this?
I just want to let the commission aware my name is Will Lockhart. I represent for DMV, so I'll let if anyone has anything to say, let the public speak first and answer any questions if need be.
Okay, thank you, Will. Do we have any other body that would like to speak at this time? Go ahead.
I'm Kathy Conley. I'm a citizen of Tullahoma.
Could you state your address, please?
I'm sorry,
Could you state your address, please?
106 Hamilton Lane.
Okay, thank you.
I've had an opportunity to look at the drawings that Mr. Lawson has in his office, and met with him last week with my questions, and he was very accommodating. And we sat in the room there with the zoning map on the wall and looked at this planned unit development, which is smack in the center of an R1 district. Now, every house in that area is a single family dwelling, as best I can determine. And so the commission is being asked to significantly change the character of the neighborhood with 13 units. Aesthetically, it is an R1 neighborhood. And right here in the middle of it, we are compromising the character of this neighborhood. There are other older neighborhoods where we have to make room for more density. And we look at duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes. And here we are looking at, bang, 13 units in the middle of our R1 district. With those 13 units, we have environmental concerns.
Ma'am, that your 2 minutes is up.
Mr. Sperling?
I'm Jerry Sperling. I live at 108 Hamilton Lane, and I yield my 2 minutes to Ms. Conley.
Okay.
Thank you. I sometimes joke and say that 500,000 years ago, Tullahoma was a sinkhole. We have so many water problems in our town. And with this unit, a development, we don't want to create another water problem. So in the plans, there is a retaining pond for the water with no specifications to be recorded as to how wide, how long, or how deep that retaining pond should be. And I have learned, we have those numbers. And they've never been made public, and they're not even on the plan that's going to be recorded. If they are 3.5 feet deep retaining pond, that would adequately take care of the water running off of this more than half acre of asphalt and roofing that's going in there. We respectfully request that we have those dimensions and have them recorded and hold the contractor accountable for that retaining pond. Also, when, hopefully it's never happened, when the retaining pond overflows, there is no drawing or specification as to how the drainage pipes from the retaining pond will go over into the street or into the ditch next to the street. And this should be basic to what we are asking.
All right, that's 2 minutes.
So we're asking respectfully that this unit development be reduced, the first 4 units on the street be eliminated in order to accommodate this neighborhood.
Thank you for your
Thank
comments,
you.
Ms. Conley. I appreciate that. Do I have anybody else that would like to speak in this public hearing?
I'm the design engineer, and I can answer questions. I don't know if this is appropriate or not, or if your city engineer wants to address any of the concerns, so I'm at your will here.
Why don't you come up here and state your name?
Okay, sure.
And then just have the question at hand about the retention pond.
All right. I'm Kenny Sadler, 4866 Woodbury Highway, Manchester, Tennessee, and I am the design engineer for the project. She brings up some concerns about the drainage. Typically, on these files, you don't put dimensions on grade lines and things like that, but it's all done digitally so that it's laid out, it's irregular shape, and I understand that could be a little confusing there, but that is done electronically. I actually give CAD files to the builders so that they have all the data there, so it's not like you have to go by dimensions. They have every bit of the data there. So that's done digitally like that. But with regard to the water, there is no overflow on floods because it carries the 2-year through the 100-year storm events, and it actually provides quite a reduction from what's going off of that area now. So basically, there's roughly an acre of land that drains toward the street there. And I think on a 2-year event, it's like a third of the water being released. You know, it's like I think 1.5 cubic feet per second is what's coming off that property now. And we're probably at like a half cubic foot per second. So we have a good reduction leaving this site from the use of the detention pond. It is a detention pond, not a retention pond. It doesn't hold water all the time. It just holds water back, so.
Are we missing the CAD drawing from our packet? I think we had it last time.
It's cut off.
It's cut off because is
Electric.
this one here? Okay, because I was like, I saw it on digital, but not in here.
I don't know if they put that. Go back.
Go back. There we go.
That's the boundary survey.
Yeah.
Can you go back again?
There it is, and I don't have that in here.
There's the landscape in there. I didn't place the drainage. It was in the last month's
Yeah.
packet, but what in this?
I could
one?
describe
Yeah, I went
it
through
from
last and
that
looked at that.
picture if you want me to. You want me to?
Please.
Okay.
And can we, I can't see anything. Can we zoom into it if possible?
Okay, so this is the street on this side, and the area out front is the detention pond, and that's where all the grade lines are.
Okay.
There's, up at the entrance, you see there's a 6-inch pipe that releases the water from the pond out into the right-of-way. Right now, everything just sheet flows out to it. So now everything is going to get collected in the detention basin. It will be released through the 6-inch pipe. And like I said, it carries the 2-year event through the 100-year storm event. So in a 100-year flood, the pond would not overtop.
And does that pull water from the back area that you guys said last time?
Okay, now the back area, you have basically a crown here. So the back area drains there, and there's no impact on that at all. So that's, as far as the pre versus post requirement, there's no changes back here. So whatever is going there now would continue to go there. It would not be impacted by the development. But the front area would. You know, the front area is where the development is, and that's about an acre. There's 2 or 2.3 going this way and 1 acre coming toward the front. And this pond is here to serve the 1 acre that's going there, and it's released through a 6-inch drainage pipe out there. So it's quite a reduction from what's going there now, for sure.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Sadler? If that's the case, I will close the public hearing. And do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
If we second, then we can go into
We can go
discussion.
to discussion.
Second.
Okay, all right. We have a motion on the floor to approve the plan. All right, discussion. Do we have any discussion?
I do.
Okay.
So I have concerns with this, and I thought that last time that we had enough information to vote on it. My concerns are, it kind of feels like, when I think about planned unit development, it talks about it here on page 15, that the point of it is to allow for greater flexibility and design freedom that will benefit our community as a whole. And I just don't know if that's the purpose of this, or if it's kind of trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, where that you want to put a development in, the land doesn't really fit for what you'd like to do with it, but let's figure out a way around that, if that makes sense. And I'm just concerned that I just don't know if it's really trying to improve that area of the town, if that makes sense. Not improve, but give them something that's needed.
I'd be happy to speak to answer Rufus' question.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
Thank you, Will.
So our answer to that is, then that's what a PUD is that nothing will fit there, but you don't want to leave just open space to do nothing with, so you give and take a little bit to get something there to get some development, and that's why the back being open space and the front being, and the concessions were made. This is not a high-rise or 2 or 3 level. These are low-level, 1-level houses, and that's just the basis of a PUD. You're going to get some good and you're going to get some bad to make the development. And it came to me today, for example, I think the benefits are, I had a family friend of mine, graduated from Tennessee Tech, engineering degree, young kid, broke as could be, but he's got an engineering degree, gets a great job at Jacobs, and he wants to move to Tullahoma. He can't find an apartment.
Right.
This happened 3 months ago, or whenever he graduated. And I think that's what Mr. Denby is trying to bring. Obviously, he's a businessman, so he's not doing this, just out of the kindness of his heart, but he's working with the city to solve some of those problems. And I think that's what the PUD is, and that's what they did on the front end, to try to make the concessions on height, the size, the number, leaving some open space. And so we think this would be a benefit to Tullahoma and go to what you mentioned is the purpose. You have to show a benefit to the city, not just putting something there completely for the sake of putting something there. But because the city's an older city, it's been in here for a while, you're going to find some spots that just don't fit. And that's why a PUD was invented, and we think this is a great opportunity for the city and Mr. Denby both to put good-looking, affordable townhomes, or not townhomes, but units in. They are townhomes to attract people to stay here. We want engineers and other people to be able to find a place instead of having to move to Manchester, where he ended up moving because he was able to find the right type of housing for that fit. So we think that's what it brings to the table. We've tried to be as transparent as possible and as helpful, talking with the commission, and it's passed all the requirements under the technical review committee. I believe Mr. Lawson will give it an approval, up to your discretion, obviously. So we just ask to be passed, and be happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
So is that the intent, is to specifically market it to young professionals?
I do not know the price. I can't answer the question on the price point, what it's going to be, but obviously newer housing is going to be nicer normally than the older stuff. So I think that would make sense for people that were looking in that area to do it, and as well for family members as well. I mean, if you look at that market, I just moved from 102 Westwood, which is 2 streets down or 3 streets down from that on the right. That's a different area with housing prices, where you can get reasonable mortgages. So, you know, if a mortgage and a rent's going to match closely to a house is over there, you know, I think that is the purpose of the house. I don't think they're trying to change what the neighborhoods look like. I think they're going to stay the same, if not maybe improve with the demographic coming in. I think that is the goal. So,
Does anybody else have any more questions for?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
have
sir.
a question for Mr. Sadler concerning an issue that was brought up at the last public hearing.
Okay. Mr. Sadler?
That's the last time it was brought up that this was going to increase the traffic going into the west, what, is it West Side Drive there? Is it Lincoln?
West Lincoln.
West Lincoln.
West Lincoln, yeah.
Has any traffic study been done to validate that this would be within acceptable limits?
Scott, do y'all have anything in your traffic plan right now?
No, but I don't think that y'all submitted a traffic.
No, there's no traffic study. I mean, the traffic numbers on this would be relatively low, you know, so this wouldn't be a high peak volume development here with 13 units. But I don't know what the city, what the numbers actually are from your, you know, from a traffic study. I thought y'all had a traffic.
It would only be PDOT counts.
Okay,
That would be
right.
available, and there are some projections on those collector and arterials that are 10-year, 20-year projections that are in the traffic study, but not a detailed study of that specific area.
Okay, okay. But there was no study requested and none provided. But like I said, a study in this case with 13 units could be negligible, honestly, from a traffic standpoint. So.
There are only 2 spaces allocated per townhome, correct?
That's correct.
So that's 26 vehicles.
It's like 2.5.
2.5. So 39. No,
Well, I'm just
wait.
saying, I said it.
32.5 vehicles.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
I have a statement and one question.
Yes, sir.
First of all, at the last meeting, we requested a clarification on what would be done at the back part of this property, and that has been clarified. Thank you very much to the people who worked on that to get us the clarification in writing that we asked for. The other question I have is, and it goes along with the stormwater thing that some people have talked about. Has there any thought been given to, my understanding is that the paving in this area is to be asphalt. Is that correct?
For the parking lot,
Yes,
all of it would be concrete.
concrete,
Yeah.
okay.
It has to be asphalt or concrete once, so I think the owner has elected to go with concrete on the parking lot.
The only reason I ask is because preferably from a stormwater aspect, permeable asphalt would be better, because that way the water would drain into the ground.
Yeah, well, you can do, I mean, if you don't have area to do detention, you can do, you know, type of concrete, you know, also that allows water into the ground.
Yeah, there is a
So-
permeable
Yeah,
concrete.
yeah, but those are in areas that you don't have an area for detention. And I mean, it's debatable as to, you know, honestly, whether it's better or not, because they clog and as far as long-term, you know, that may not be the best solution. So those are solutions that you look for and use when you don't have any other solutions. So in this case, if you can use a detention pond, it's always the way to go.
Okay.
If you have that, you know, availability, and we do have it here, so.
I was just curious as to whether any consideration had been given to that, because
Yeah.
I know it would help with your drainage situation.
It does. It can eliminate the need for a detention area. Again, I'm not sure it's the best approach, but it
May not
is,
always.
in my case, it's a last resort to do that. I'm not sure it functions as well, and it always costs more. But the difference between For instance, in asphalt, standard asphalt versus standard concrete is going from a 0.9 to a 0.95 ratio. So there's very little difference in
Yeah.
standard asphalt versus standard concrete.
Yeah. I have nothing else.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have one more comment. I see before me here a quitclaim deed for the public space that's behind this, and nothing has been put into the record concerning that. And I would like to ask why this was put here and what it intends to be done.
So I can answer that question. So the quitclaim deed and open space easement that you're referring to is just to put in the land records that the city will have an easement to keep that open space. So nothing, I mean, there was nothing on the plan, so we couldn't have done anything with it even if we wanted to without approval. But this kind of belt and suspenders approach to put that the city has an easement there, which is, and the language specifically I took from the code section of what an open space is made for and set aside for natural habitat for animals, plants, and natural features for the benefit of Tullahoma. So that's what's going to be in the land record. So the city, I guess, could further enforce what they could already enforce, but they will have an actual interest in the land. They will own an easement in the land. So you would violate not only city ordinances about building on something like that, but they, as a property owner, or they would have a right in that land to file suit if they really wanted to enforce if for some reason Mr. Denby or a subsequent owner decided to build something there that they weren't supposed to.
Which was a
Mr. Worsham,
I
what is,
reviewed this document. Mr. Lockhart was so kind as to bring it to me earlier today. It is adequate for the purposes for which it's intended. It does meet the objections and questions that y'all had at the last meeting. It will be recorded at the Register of Deeds, so it will become a public record and will be permanent and will, of course, go and run with the lands being developed by Mr. Denby.
okay, and does this put any liability on the city because of this?
No, it does not. It's just an easement that they're agreeing to give us in order to make sure that they will maintain it as an open space area. No liability whatsoever. We have a property interest in it, but not ownership interest in the land itself.
That's exactly correct. That was the intent.
All right. Any other questions?
Call the question.
If not, I call the question.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to offer an amendment to the motion. And that amendment is that we approve this with stipulation that either the developer's engineer or the city's engineer validate that this extra traffic is not does not put it outside the acceptable limits.
Let me think of how I would, Mr. St. John?
I think you are asking for a traffic study and
Not really.
what?
Not really. I'm just asking for a statement based on engineering judgment as to whether that's true or not from you.
So given the number of units as compared to a single-family unit that might go in, there is an increase in traffic. You can use the ITE standards on number of vehicles per unit, the trips generated, but there'll be an increase. The question that comes up in a traffic study and answers it is, what is the impact to that increase? So I'm thinking you're asking, is there a negative impact? And so that would have to come by way of a traffic study and evaluation that would be prepared for that specific location, specific use. We can look at it from the standpoint at the staff level. You know, what is the calculated increase based on the IT projections, and tell you that increase. But you know, it really takes a traffic study to determine, does it change the level of service on that two-lane roadway? I can assume, and probably first inclination would be, it's not going to change the level of service based on the small increase that it's generating. But I cannot sit here and tell you that you know, that's a fact until a traffic study gets done. But yes, we're talking 13 units as compared to 1 unit single family.
Scott,
Yes, sir.
the acreage of
Yeah.
this R1 zoning, by right is 12 units.
Okay.
It's only one additional
Okay.
unit.
So,
Scott, my concern is that I don't know what the current level of traffic is relative to the acceptable limit. And if it's a pretty good margin there, and we're going to put in this 13 units, then I agree, it's probably not an impact. But if we're bumping right up against the limit right now, and this throws it over the top, that's my concern.
well, I can say from the traffic study that we put together in 2012, and then Lee, there was an amendment a couple of years later to it, but in that traffic study, the levels of service of all the arterial and collector streets were evaluated based on the available TDOT traffic counts, and they set counters, and they do counts annually. And so, based on, there's parameters there that evaluates a level of service from A to F, A being the best, F being the worst, that we evaluated, we compared those numbers and calculated the level of service for that roadway segment. I don't have that data in front of me, but I do know that there were no streets, except there were some on Jackson Street that were a level of service of C and D, but on the majority of the arterial and collector streets, they were A and B level of service, which is good. So without that data in front of me, but it's not going to bump it to a level of service of C or D or even an F. So, you know, you can state that yes, it would be a level of service of A or B based on the data that we looked at in that 2012 report. And as Ms. Moody stated, if there is really an increase, as I was talking before, of going from 1 to 13, but it's really going from 12 to 13. So that's a very small change.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, it is your opinion, notwithstanding a traffic study, that this is not going to create a significant problem.
That's correct. Yes, based on the counts and the wide range of vehicles per hour in a level of service A to a level of service B to a level of service C, it is not going to change that number.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my amendment.
All right, so we've got to call the question. So the question on this is move to approve the PUD located on 1008 West Lincoln Street. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
So we have,
Excuse me. Is there a motion?
Yes.
yeah, there was a motion. That's how we, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were in there. So we had Mr. Comer, Paul, and Mr. Crabtree that were the yeses, and
That's two.
Ms. Blackwell and Ms. Smith were no. Motion passes. All right.
Hold on, let me get this down if you wouldn't.
Yes, ma'am. We will have a slight pause.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
It's hard to hear down here, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm just winging it up here. So,
The yeses, raise your hand, please.
they were Paul.
And the noes,
Those two.
Let's do.
how did you vote?
I don't vote. Do I vote?
Yeah.
Oh, then I'm a pass. Give me 4. I'm sorry. I thought I didn't vote. Okay, cool. Never mind. Like I said, I'm learning on the go here.
You can if you want.
Okay.
But when it comes to a tie, you have to vote.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Like I said, thank y'all for bearing with me.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank y'all. All right. Are you ready, Nina?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. All right, now we open it up for new business. We have a zoning map amendment. These are public hearings. The first one is zoning map amendment 230. It's a request to rezone 2 parcels along Hogan Street, address 412 North Jackson and 107 Hogan Street. The applicant is Mr. Sales. Is Mr. Sales here? No, he is not here. All right, well, I will open it up for public hearing. Anybody like to speak? All right, I will close the public hearing. All right, I'll be open to a motion, so we can just start discussion.
Motion to send a favorable recommendation to the mayor, board of mayor and aldermen.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. All right, open discussion. Any questions, anything for, I guess, Lee?
Staff gave a favorable recommendation because it follows the land use plan that was adopted by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. This is rezoning. They're going to combine the two lots and expand the Lightning business onto the rear lot, 107 West Hogan.
It's from a C1 to a C2. I'm sorry, I didn't say that earlier. All right, if there's no discussion, I'll call the question.
Is this not a public hearing?
No, we already got out of the public hearing and made the motion. Sir?
Okay, I didn't, you called for a public hearing and there was no comment.
Nobody came, I closed it, and then we had a motion. No, no problem. All right, all those in favor of the zoning amendment of text from C1 to C2 at North Jackson, 412, and West Hogan, 107 for Mr. Sales, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. Next one on the agenda is a zoning map amendment request 231. We are changing from R1 to C2. The applicant is Mr. Jerry Rogers, and the property is located at 509 West Grundy Street. This is a public hearing, so I will open the floor up for public hearing. All right.
My name is Catherine Dunward, and we own property at 512 West Grundy.
Okay.
It's right across the street here. What is technically a C2? I mean, what kind of business is possibly going? Right now, it's a fencing company, or it used to be a fencing company, and it hasn't been open for years, so no one's really been going in.
I can show you the list again if you like.
Okay.
Those are the uses that would be allowed in C2. Fencing, ironworks or metalworking business wouldn't be allowed in there again. So it'd have to be something, it couldn't be something industrial like that. It can be a service or retail. But it still could be automotive retail, or automotive service. So, I mean, there is, there's still that option.
The only concern we have is how many people would be coming in and out of that area on that street, because it is a little more residential right in that area. Yeah, and the other thing we were trying to find out, how much is commercial on Grundy, because there's a lot of spots along that road, on West Grundy.
The zoning map, land use. Next one, yeah, Karen. Okay, the yellow is residential and the red is commercial.
And if this goes commercial, how easy would it be for, the other side of the street to go, for instance, Collins has some right there, the other side of Grundy?
The other side of Grundy, there's a likelihood, if you could push it to the slide before that one. That's the land use plan, that's the policy or the land use policy adopted by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And all that red right there is calling for C2, even though it's not zoned that way right now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anybody else like to speak in the public hearing?
Jennifer Moody, City Administrator, also resident at 1400 Wilson Avenue. And it's unusual that I would speak to you about this item, but I feel responsible to at least point out to you a couple of things about the land use map and the land use plan. Maybe Lee can remind us the date that the comprehensive plan was last adopted?
It was 2011.
2011. And best practice would say that we should be updating that plan at least every 5 years. So it is quite out of date. And then I asked Lee to include a map that was more zoomed out. I think it's the last page.
I didn't, just not.
Oh, you didn't put it there?
But it is in the packet.
Okay, we would have to split.
It's,
So right after page 47.
48.
Page 48 of your plan. So when you zoom out, but when you zoom further out, you see how wide that area of commercial, how it encroaches. I obviously understand the use of commercial along a major corridor, Lincoln Street, but it goes quite a bit into a residential area. And my concern is a couple things. Comprehensive plans are not meant to follow parcel lines. And so they're meant to be a guiding document. And I think that this is a neighborhood that we should consider. There's a lot of existing residential. Do we want commercial to encroach further back into that residential area? Or do we want to keep commercial along Lincoln Street? And so, that's just a question I'll leave with you. Even the two properties between what you're saying is an alley and Grundy Street, the two that are zoned commercial are, one is vacant, just vacant green lot, and the other is being used as a residential property.
Can we ask you a question? Is it now, though, used as a commercial property? Isn't it now a commercial, like a non-conforming commercial
Actually, I think
property?
it's been vacant for 3 years,
So it's lost its non-conforming
So it's lost its
status.
non-conforming status, that was my question, okay.
Can you go into detail on that?
You have a business that's in a residential zone and it's considered non-conforming. And then you have 36 months, if it stays vacant for 36 months, it cannot revert back to a business. And if it did revert back to a business, it'd have to be the exact same business that was being operated out of that.
Let's be rezoned.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
In addition, I don't know, since I spoke, I don't know if the applicant is here.
No.
Okay. But our understanding from the applicant, he has no plans for a business in the building or to develop the property. It's solely a rezoning request in order to market it. I just share these facts with you. I can't tell you, make a recommendation on what you should decide, but I just wanted to add those points for clarification.
You wanted to say something after you saw some information?
I just wanted to say that since they're trying to sell it, they do have a for sale sign up, and that's why we were concerned what businesses could go in there and what kind of an impact would it have on the neighborhood
So
itself.
today, none, because it's residential property.
But if it's rezoned and he can sell it, it could make a big impact on that neighborhood. Thank you.
Sorry, I missed, what's the difference in the yellow and the blue?
The yellow is low-density residential and the blue is high-density residential.
Okay.
Duplexes.
There's more houses in the blue than there are in the
Apartments. All right. Any other comments from the public hearing? If not, I'll close it. I would entertain a motion to open discussion.
Move to approve.
All right. And you got a second?
Second.
All right. It is open for discussion. Any questions within the board?
I guess I have a statement. To me, it should not, it makes more sense to wait until someone buys the property and then have them come before the planning commission with a request to rezone based on the use for that parcel.
They're not going to buy it if they,
It's been commercial in the past.
It has, but that is now non-conforming, right? So
Right, but you could reasonably argue that if he's able to come and have us approve it for commercial right now, then what is to stop the buyer from being able to do so?
Yeah.
It's a viable question.
Yeah.
And I mean,
But there's no guarantee. See, right now it's sitting, I guess it's residential. Well, now it's reverted back to residential.
Yeah.
And the only thing, they can't, anybody who wants to sell it, if the person is looking to be commercial and wants to place a commercial business there, they can't promise that it can be commercial.
Is it the current?
Whereas if we rezone it, they can promise, okay, you can do these commercial things with it. So there is a gate swinging both ways on this thing.
And no one's asked me to zone it residential, which is what the area is, right? So.
Yeah.
It's a little.
It's already residential.
Right, it's zoned C1, isn't it?
No, it's
It's zoned residential, R1,
It's
okay.
R1.
It was a R1,
Okay.
they must have got a variance at some
That's
point.
right, that's
They got a
right.
variance at some point in time, and once that variance, they've not done that, am I right, Lee? They probably got a variance at some point in time, or we don't know. We'll just say that they may have gotten a variance, but then, so it's been 36 months since there,
Right.
so it's going to revert back to
Residential.
residential
And
R1.
I hear what Ms. Moody's saying, like in my mind, this is, and when you drive through that area, that is a residential area.
Mhm.
I really would hate to see something that fits within C2, which is, like, isn't it automotive and?
Yeah, you can have a minor or major automotive
You could have a
repair.
portable restroom company there, probably. Like, you could do a lot of things there. I would hate to see that happen in a residential community like that.
But there are commercial businesses all around it too.
Across the
Not on that street.
No, it's behind it.
Not on that
It's gonna
street.
run- Yeah, behind it.
On the back side of it.
That's on West Lincoln.
Yeah.
Grundy.
Well, it's on West Lincoln because it's facing West Lincoln, but it runs right up against it, so.
And it's.
Yeah, but
really
everything
that
else
way.
on that side of the street, on Grundy, everything else is residential except that one building there.
So that's like the stuffed goose, right? 7.01 right there is that stuffed goose, or 7.00?
What are
Old
you
stuffed
saying?
goose?
Stuff Goose 7.0 is the old Stuff Goose?
Yeah.
Yes. And everybody that's not from here is like, what is the Stuff Goose?
Right. Now that sounds really good.
That's how.
That's good ever.
My point is, if you drive down Grundy, everything is residential except that lot. And that lot is a non-conforming
Well, in that area, but if you go on
Plus.
further down, I mean, if you stay around Grundy there's a lot of businesses down that street.
on Grundy.
There's a church and a school.
There's a church and a school on the left-hand side as you hit on the Cedar Lane.
Which wouldn't be C2, that would be
I don't think there's
C1.
any
Yeah, that's
business.
C1, yeah, C1,
It's
yeah,
Cedar
yeah.
Lane.
You
It's all
also,
C2.
Is the school, like Muse Montessori's right there and,
Can you go back to the?
it's on the corner.
yeah.
It's on the corner.
You can't see it, but
yeah, the dance studio.
the stuff along Cedar Lane is C2. You can't see it because I put a legend on the map. The church is zoned R1, but churches are allowed in R1s by condition. They
Right.
can get a conditional use permit and put in there.
American City Bank banks up to
You know, I
that.
believe there's a business on the
Oh,
one
it's
that
not
says,
American City anymore, it's First Bankers.
yeah.
But that's the,
It
Sorry,
doesn't.
Chad, I don't know that one.
Where is it? Right
Does
there.
anybody know, would the
One of those.
past commercial use there be considered a brownfield by any chance? Would there be any restrictions on building a house if you wanted to use it for residential?
I don't think
Exception
so.
for Lee has to use.
It was a
That'd be
fencing
illegal.
company.
Lee, is there any issues with building a house on it at the point, at where it is right now? Like, because there's a commercial building on it?
Would it possibly be a brownfield, or would there be any issues with obtaining a residential permit if you wanted to build?
Build a house on the same lot with the commercial building.
No,
No, if you bought
tear
the house
down the.
now-
Tear it down and build it? Well, yeah,
decided
you could do that, yes, that would, I mean, if you was gonna build a single-family home.
Okay. I just didn't know if there would be any problems with the property being,
The past use of the
the past
property.
use inhibiting.
What's a
using-
brownfield?
Commercial use that could be considered to have had
It could be
impacted
involved with
the.
EPA or any such thing like
It
that.
could be a
Okay.
parking lot, or just sometimes there can be contaminants to the land,
Yep.
and so those contaminants would
And it is paved.
inhibit the
I would
ability
say the
to
only thing
build
about
on
building
it.
is asbestos, and that would have to be a state permit and encapsulate it and pull it all out of there. And
Right.
I don't think they were doing
So
anything. with
it would be
chemicals.
hard to sell it as a residential property.
Yes, it would,
Yeah,
probably
it'd be
would be.
expensive
Yes.
to sell.
So if you deny it, and then it's highly unlikely that you could
Sell it.
then I don't
Well, that's their,
it doesn't sound like it would be feasible to do anything there. Is
Because of
Question.
the past use. Yeah.
Yes.
bring it up, yeah.
Anybody else have any others? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
In your bylaws, usually request the applicant to be here.
Yeah.
And usually you would you just postpone it until, they're noticed that they should be
Yeah.
attending this meeting to answer any of these
So,
questions.
do you want to pull your thing and make?
Can I make a, yeah, is that how
We
that
need
works?
to pull the motion off and then do a motion to postpone.
Is that how they do it, Steve?
Yeah.
Steve? They made a motion.
We're currently in a motion to approve, but we want to postpone. Do we need to close out the motion?
Yes, you do. You need to withdraw
Okay,
it.
withdraw it. So who made the motion?
I did, I think.
Do you mind to withdraw that
Or do you
motion
want-
so we can postpone
It's
it?
fine with me.
All right, so,
Have
I
to
make a
withdraw
motion
the
to
second as well.
all right, so that's
And
the
I'll make a motion to postpone
Second.
until the applicant can come.
second. All right, so we got a motion to postpone this request and make sure that the applicant will show up next month when we have our next meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. And I think
Go to the last one.
the next part of business is our training session. We'll be having Monday, December 2nd at 5 p.m. at E.W. Wilson. Everybody aware of that?
Yes.
Dinner will be provided.
Yes, they always do a good job.
Yeah.
And then our next meeting is Monday, December 16th, 2019. And for that, I would look for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of the motions, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.